world is currently facing a pandemic caused by SARS-CoV-2 or coronavirus, and its infection called COVID-19. This viral infection was originally discovered in Wuhan, China in December 2019 and has spread rapidly to various parts of the world. This pandemic affected various changes in socio-economic sectors of all affected areas. Gugus Tugas Percepatan Penanganan COVID-19 Indonesia reported an additional number of confirmed positive cases. This virus received various responses from the Indonesian people. Some began to be careful and adopt a healthy lifestyle, but more people did not care and seemed ignorant, even making this virus a joke. Okay, not only the citizens, but also the government underestimate the existence of this virus and do not prepare or anticipate the emergence of this outbreak in Indonesia. However, in 2021, there is new hope for us, the COVID-19 vaccine. In fact, some fewer people are ignorant of the emergence of the coronavirus than people who care about preventing this virus. However, their indifference has accelerated the spread of the virus. The uncertainty, confusion, and emergency caused by the coronavirus can be stressors for many people.
The uncertainty in knowing when the plague will end has made many groups of people, especially the middle to the lower class, confused about their fate. The existence of the coronavirus that threatens everyone has the opportunity to become a stressor for most people. The fear of death is a basic psychological conflict in humans. And following terror management theory, the fear of an uncertain death makes humans do various things to maintain their lives. The existence of COVID-19 certainly makes the fear felt even more intense. Of course, there are some positives and negatives that people do to survive. To reduce anxiety in society, it is time for us to do various things to increase public optimism during this pandemic. The impact of COVID-19 outbreak. Economy. The COVID-19 pandemic is a global shock like no other. COVID-19 is expected to infect millions of people all over the world. The economic impact is expected to be large and can lead to a global recession. Millions of people will be pushed into poverty. The recession involving simultaneous disruptions to both supply and demand in an interconnected world economy. On the supply side, infections reduce labor supply and productivity, while lockdowns, business closures, and social distancing also cause supply disruptions. On the demand side, layoffs and the loss of income from morbidity, quarantines, and unemployment, and worsened economic prospect reduce household consumptions and firm investment. The extreme uncertainty about the path, duration, magnitude, and impact of the pandemic could pose a vicious cycle of dampening business and consumer confidence and tightening financial conditions, which could lead to job losses and investment. One projection puts 1.2 million people in the country will eventually be infected. The economic impact is also expected to be severe. Compared to the baseline projection of 5% economic growth in 2020, various studies estimate that COVID-19 will reduce Indonesia's economic growth to between 1 and 4%. Based on the data from the Kementerian Ketenagakerjaan or Kemenaker as of April 7, 2020, as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, there were, moreover, 39,000 companies in the formal sectors that fired their employees. In total, there were, moreover, 1 million workers affected by this. One of the economic studies finds that under the mildest COVID-19 impact on economic growth, the poverty rate will increase from 9.2% in September 2019 to 9.7% by the end of 2020. This implies that 1.3 billion more people will be pushed into poverty. Under the most severe projection, the poverty rate will increase to 12.4%, implying 8.5 million more people will become poor. The latter means that Indonesia's progress in reducing poverty over the last decade will be wiped out. The implication of this is that Indonesia needs to expand its social protection program to assist the new poor in addition to existing poor. Social impact. Experts of public health believe that social distancing is the better solution to prevent the spread of the virus. However, although it's not possible to predict the duration of the pandemic, we know very well the serious impact of these measures on the society, on relationships and interactions, in particular on the empathic process. In the early 90s, empathy was described as a form of identification in the psychological and physiological states of others. This definition led to a debate between the disciplines of philosophy of psychology and philosophy of the mind. Indeed, empathy, defined as the ability to understand and share the feelings of another, involves several elements such as social context and historical periods of individual neurological mechanisms and psychological behavior responses to feelings of others. The COVID-19 pandemic has affected the way people live interpersonal relationships. The lockdowns was characterized of a different organization of daily life, with an incrementations of a time at home and reductions of distance through digital devices. This period was also seen as an evolution in the concept of empathy, producing new perspective in the study of the phenomenon according to sociological and neurological points of view. The neurosociological perspective analyzes the mechanism involved in the empathic process, focusing on human communications and interpersonal relationships. Psychological impact. There are some elements related to the pandemic that affect more the population, such as separation from loved one, loss of freedom, uncertainty about the advancement of the disease, and the feeling of helplessness. These aspects might lead to dramatic consequences, such as the rise of suicides. Suicidal behaviors are often related to the feeling of anger associated with the stressful condition widely spread among people who lived or live in the most of affected areas. In light of these consequences, a careful evaluation of the potential benefit of the quarantine is needed, taking into account the high psychological cost. As reported in a recent survey administered during the COVID-19 pandemic, children and young adults are particularly at risk of developing anxious symptoms. In addition, an online survey conducted on the general population in China found that college students are more likely to experience stress, anxiety, and depression than others during the pandemic. These results suggest monitoring and promoting mental health of youth in order to reduce the negative impact of the quarantine. Healthcare workers are another segment of population particularly affected by stress. They are at risk to develop symptoms common in catastrophic situations, such as a post-traumatic stress disorder, burnout syndrome, physical and emotional exhaustion, depersonalizations, and dissociation. However, an epidemic presents different peculiarities compared to a catastrophic event. For instance, the stigmatizing attitudes in particular towards health professionals who are in daily contact with the risk of infections. As a consequence of this pandemic, the health professionals who were overworked suffered a high level of psychophysical stress. Health professionals also lived or live in daily life with traumatic conditions called secondary traumatic stress disorder, which describe the feeling of discomfort experienced in the helping relationship when treatments are not available for all patients, and the professional must select who can access them and who cannot. As emerged by the recent literatures, the promotion of psychological interventions on the specific population who is more likely to develop pathologies and suffering is needed. The Lancet Global Mental Health Commission's observations reported that the use of digital technologies can provide mental health interventions in order to reduce anxiety and stress levels and increase self-efficacy.